All right, everyone, this is Eric Hayden with the Weather Service in Newport Morehead City. It's just a little bit past 9:30. It looks like most folks have logged on by now. Again, you should have had this briefing in your email inbox earlier this morning. Not a lot of changes to the forecast, increased messaging. We talked about this a couple minutes ago with regards to we expect a lull today, so don't let your guard down. We're still not out of the woods by a long shot. The main part of the storm is going to come through tonight. And then some of this wording, again, we don't throw this kind of stuff out easily. We want to get close enough to the event to have that confidence. And again, we don't recall in the office for some of the people that have been here for a long time issuing amounts this high for ice. And you're probably very familiar with snowfall, what a couple inches of snow does. But when we're talking ice amounts of a half inch or even greater, that really has the potential for power outages and a real impact to our community. So we really want folks to pay attention. It's not too late to make some last minute preparations because again, the main part of the storm comes through tonight. So not a lot of changes, just some minor tweaks and then enhanced wording. I'm gonna actually hop out of the briefing itself and kind of show you some current conditions across your area and what's going on. You should be able to see this map. Much colder. I could hear the wind last night at my house. If you've been outside for any amount of time, it's gotten a lot colder. So for those that were kind of questioning, how could we drop from the 60s to below freezing? It's happened. So we're already below freezing for a lot of us, down to 28 at this hour in Kinston, 30 up toward Greenville, Martin County in the upper 20s. So again, anything wet will start to ice up, especially those elevated bridges, overpasses, things of that nature. Down to the south, we're below freezing in Jacksonville. Crystal Coast, we're below freezing here at the office. We're 31, still maybe mid 30s, a little bit closer to the water, but even there, some parts of Morehead City around the freezing mark. The only spot that's still above freezing pretty substantially, most of the Outer Banks, as expected, not a lot of impact winter-wise, Hatteras and Ocracoke Island. But for Northern Dare, we're watching you very carefully. Near 40, places like Manio, upper 30s, so no concerns now, but you don't have to get too far to the north. Elizabeth City is in the upper 20s. The water will likely keep you near or just above that freezing mark for a good part of today, so that's what's saving you. Your real accumulating snow is probably going to occur after sunset tonight, so kind of keep that in mind. So temperatures continue to fall. Again, we mentioned off the top, we really want people to realize I'm a big sports fan, so you can use any analogy you want, but this is the first quarter of the event, first quarter of the football game, basketball, whatever you like. We are not through it at all. So do not let your guard down, especially this morning, Greenville, Kinston, places inland, you're not seeing a lot at all. That's expected, real spotty and scattered activity today. We'll show you that in a second. And most of the activity initially through at least noon will be down toward the coast. And again, we are below freezing. So some of these lighter returns, it's in the form of freezing rain, maybe some sleet pellets. But notice over just the last 30 minutes, this is starting to fill in a little bit. As we head through today, especially this afternoon and tonight, it's going to fill in big time. And that's when we expect the heavier activity to move in. This worked really well yesterday. We included it in our briefing again today. This is a model simulation. It's in line with our forecast, so it should be pretty close to what we have on the website. Noontime, again, not a lot going on farther inland. Real spotty, wintry mix in that pink shade, predominantly freezing rain, but maybe a few sleet pellets. All rain for the Outer Banks, but really close. Just north of our part in Dare County, some wintry mix has been reported up toward Currituck County, but for the most part, above freezing in northern Dare through today. By this afternoon, notice what's happening. The colors are getting darker. It's increasing in coverage. That will continue. Again, this pink area, predominantly freezing rain, and then some snow and sleet to the north. As we head into this evening, it's spreading inland. It's increasing in coverage. So again, the real story is tonight in terms of the highest impacts. Many hours of freezing rain, Jacksonville, especially Morehead City West up toward New Bern. Kind of a snow sleet mixture here in the middle, Kinston to New Bern, and then all snow up toward Greenville and Williamston. Overnight tonight, that's where it becomes heavy at times. And again, we're talking hours of freezing rain. And by this point, places like Jacksonville, up through New Bern, Maysville, Pollocksville, you're going to be in the upper 20s. We're not going to have the sunshine. We're not going to have anything warming things up. And I know we were really warm yesterday, but it's quite windy out today. So that's really cooling the ground. So we really are going to start to see some significant icing tonight. Heavy snow to the north. As we go toward midnight, this is heavy snow at times. So again, I know in Greenville, you're waking up this morning, it's kind of a raw day. It's cloudy, but where's the storm? It's tonight. Heavy snow in blue. And we expect a lot of folks to change over to all snow as that storm really deepens off the coast. The pink area will be freezing rain, maybe some sleet pellets right along that line. Northern Dare County, that's when the cold air starts to come in. We expect a changeover later this evening and certainly by midnight. 3 a.m., things start to move back toward the coast, mostly snow and blue, still freezing rain, Jacksonville, Half Moon, Pollocksville, Swansboro, Pelletier, those areas, hours after hours of freezing rain. And then eventually, as we head toward daybreak on Saturday, everything moves off the coast and we wrap things up. So by and large, no big changes to what you saw yesterday. Please help us message when you hear people say, oh, it looks like we dodged a bullet. No, 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 no. We're trying to message that heavily on social media. Please help us by sharing that message and making sure the community knows that it is not over. We're just getting into the thick of things, especially by tonight. Ice forecast largely unchanged. Now that we're closer to the event, almost like the cone of uncertainty with a hurricane, we're getting more narrow. So that means that we're confident that up to the north, we will not have much in the way of freezing rain. And not a lot places like Kinston and northern Duplin County. But once you start to get into this red shade, that's a 1/4 to 1/2 inch. Onslow County, southeast Duplin, the southern part of Jones through southern Craven, Beaufort, Pamlico counties, and even up into mainland Hyde. Anywhere near or in those red shaded areas, that will be the best potential for power outages. We're not a predictor of that, but again, 1/2 inch amount of ice is a real serious situation. And then our bullseye, the very heaviest of the icing, is this darker shade of red, up to a 1/2 inch. But if we're going to see more than a 1/2 inch, it's places like this. Again, Jacksonville, the central and eastern part of Onslow County, really much of Onslow County, western Carteret, southern Craven, so from especially Havelock, south and west, over toward Maysville, Trenton, Pollocksville, those areas. Carteret County, still a huge gradient. We still expect the heaviest of the icing to be from Morehead City west over toward Cape Carteret, Bogue, Ocean, those locations. The eastern part of the county, amounts will drop off. We do expect icing in places like Beaufort, but probably not a lot down towards Cedar Island because of that wind flow off the water, and not expecting any icing across most of the Outer Banks. In fact, most of you will see snow late in the event, especially up north. Winds, stiff, 20, 25 miles per hour. The impact of that will enhance any icing. So as we get ice on the trees and power lines, that's where we could have additional power problems because of that wind. And then peaking tropical storm force across the Outer Banks. That'll have implications on coastal flooding, which we'll cover in a moment. For most of us, this is a significant ice storm, not a snowstorm. However, if you live from Greenville northward, it's a significant snowstorm. It's an incredible hard job to message this. Heavy snow up north, heavy icing down south, but we're trying to do it. So down toward the coast, maybe a coating of snow, Jacksonville and Morehead City as things end Saturday morning. In the middle, 1 to 3 inches, places like New Bern and Kinston. You're not going to see as much snow or freezing rain because you're going to have sleet cutting down those totals. And we still think the highest amounts are from Greenville through Williamston, Plymouth, Columbia, especially 64, Highway 64 northward toward the Albemarle Sound. That's where we'll have the highest amounts. For Dare County, nothing Oregon Inlet south, but as you get up toward Manteo, Kitty Hawk, especially Duck and Southern Shores, a couple inches of snow, perhaps 3 inches, especially the northern part of the county towards Southern Shores would be the highest chance for that to happen. Again, that's largely unchanged. So precipitation ends quickly Saturday, and we're going to be well into the 30s. So substantial melting for a lot of us, but where we have a snowpack up north, it's going to be only around freezing, so you may not get a lot of melting. The reason why we mention that, as we've said the last couple of days, it's going to be very cold Saturday night. Anything wet will refreeze, so please keep that in mind. Almost everywhere outside of parts of the Outer Banks will be below freezing. The other issue, again, folks without power, temperatures in the teens, that's not a good situation. So we continue to message that along with things like generator safety and secondary ways to keep warm. Sunday is the day that most of us should melt everything off. The exception may be across the far north. If you do have 5 or 6 inches of snow, sometimes that takes a while to get rid of. And anything wet Sunday evening will refreeze because temperatures will be, again, well below freezing at night. Could be an issue for folks without power through the weekend. Want to mention flooding, coastal flooding, not a major aspect of this event. This is largely unchanged. Strong north to northeast, northeast winds, some water level rises down East Carteret County, Ocracoke Island, and also Hatteras Village. Sound side, we haven't seen a lot of that yet. I'll talk about that in a second. Any issues we've seen have been oceanside so far and have been mainly minor. So at the high tide cycles, some minor water issues, generally 1 to 2 feet above ground level. I'm going to hop out of the presentation mainly for Drew and the Outer Banks, because again, this is not a huge coastal flooding issue. Right now, our forecast has been a little high for the sound side, but you'll notice in the last couple hours, the water levels are increasing. So especially later this evening around 9 o'clock on Hatteras, and then 9 a.m. on Saturday morning, approaching minor flood levels in Hatteras. Again, that's in line with that up to 1 to 2 feet above ground level. We've had some minor issues, I think, and Drew can clarify this. Oceanside, nothing too crazy yet. Again, we're about high tide and duck, so expect conditions to actually improve for the rest of today. But the next high tide cycle early tonight, whatever you see right now is what you get tonight. And then the high tide Saturday morning at 9. If we're going to have any issues oceanside, the best chance for that would be Saturday morning with that higher high tide cycle. So we're going to wrap things up here. The whole gamut here in Eastern North Carolina: snow, a major ice storm, and coastal flooding. So the summary again: high confidence. We are here. If you are just joining us, we mentioned if you're a fan of sports, we're in the first quarter of 4 quarters. We have a long way to go. Most of this is going to be tonight in terms of the significant icing and snow. Still thinking 1 to 4 overall, locally 6 up north, and ice amounts close to a ½ inch. That is going to be a huge impact in our area, especially with regards to power lines and tree branches having issues with that.